d4, knight f6, knight f3, e6, e3, b6, bishop d3, bishop b7, castle kingside, d5, b3, knight b d7, c4, d takes c4, b takes c4, c5, knight c3, c takes d4, e takes d4, bishop e7, rook e1, castle kingside, bishop b2, rook e8, rook c1, queen c7, d5, e takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, c takes d5, queen d6, bishop b5, bishop f8, rook takes e8, rook takes e8, bishop c6, bishop takes c6, d takes c6, knight c5, queen takes d6, bishop takes d6, rook d1, bishop b8, knight d4, rook d8, rook b1, f6, knight b5, knight e6, g3, a6, knight c3, rook d6, bishop a3, rook d3, bishop b2, b5, rook c1, king f7, knight e4, bishop c7, rook c2, rook d5, king g2, f5, knight d2, g5, h3, h5, knight f1, f4, g4, rook d3, f3, h takes g4, h takes g4, bishop a5, bishop e5, bishop c7, bishop takes c7, knight takes c7, knight d2, rook d5, knight e4, king e7, king f1, king d8, rook h2, knight e6, rook h6, knight c5, knight f6, rook d3, king e2, rook e3, check, King F2. Rook E6. Rook G6. Knight D3, check. King G2. Rook takes C6. Rook takes G5. Rook C2, check. King H3. Knight E1. Rook F5. Knight takes F3. Rook takes F4. Knight G1, check. King H4. Rook H2, check. King G3. Rook takes A2. Rook E4. Rook A3, check. King F4. Knight H3, check. King E5. King C7. King D5. Knight G5. Rook E5. Rook F3. Knight E8, check. King D7. Rook takes G5. King takes E8. King C5. Rook C3, check. King B6. Rook A3. Rook F5. B4. Rook F1. B3. G5. B2. Rook B1. Rook A2. G6. King F8. King C5. A5. King D4. A4. King E5. King G7. King F5. A3. Rook D1. Rook A1. Rook D7, check. King F8. G7, check. King G8. King F6. Rook F1, check. King G8. King G7, check. King G8. King F6. King G8. King F6. King G8. King G8. King F1, check. King F6. King G8. King G8. King F6. 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 King